What's up people, welcome to another Arcane afternoon. The skill Revamp came about 2 weeks ago. I was really sick so I couldn't make a video earlier on the skill Revamp. But in this video I will be showing you the best skills to use for Rogue. There's no one better to tell you which skills you should be using. I am by far the best Rogue in the entire game. And without wasting too much time, let's get into the skills. So I'll just respec and show you exactly which points I will be using. First, put everything into Dex, of course. And we will be using the ultimate aim shot. The ultimates did not get changed this time, so we will keep the ultimate aim shot. And let me quickly do the passives. We get full armor, we get intelligence up, then we get the movement speed, strength, and we will get 5% gold loot. Then we will get 25 dexterity, and we will get the 2.5% haste. We don't need the critical chance because with any normal loadout, I can show you. So just with my normal damage set, I already have 110% critical chance. This is just my normal damage set. My pet gives me 0 critical chance. No procs, no buffs, no procs. So we keep these 5 skill points because we need them for the new skill upgrades. And this damage multiplier really doesn't do anything anyways. So we leave this out. And now we get into the new skills. So as you can see, every skill stayed the same, but every skill also got 8 new upgrades. Most of these upgrades are pretty useless, but some of them are pretty decent. And let's start with the first skill. So we will still be using the Shadow Piercer, and we will leave out the reduction for armor, and we will get the health one. And the most important upgrade is this one, where you deliver multiple low damage hits to your targets after coming out of a normal Shadow Piercer. This is the most important upgrade. So you do 3 small hits at the end. So in total you do 4 hits to a target by using Shadow Piercer once. And now they upgraded this with a perk where you do 5 extra hits. In total you will get 6 hits with Shadow Piercer, and this upgrade is really good. All of the other upgrades we don't need. None of the other upgrades are useful. And one thing I will say at once, because there's always people who say you need the armor reduction. The armor reduction is fully useless because 99.9% of all bosses in the entire game don't have any armor. They only have a lot of HP, so the armor reduction is not needed. And in addition, your Kraken weapons anyways have 75% armor reduction, as you can see. This debuff does heavy damage and reduces your target's armor by 75% in PvE, 50% in PvP. So you don't need the armor reduction. If you play PvP, you can consider that. So this is all of the upgrades we need for the Shadow Piercer. The second skill we will be using is the Nox Bolt. The Nox Bolt didn't really get any upgrade, sadly. So in some maps you could even consider using Razor Shield maybe instead of the Nox Bolt. But overall the Nox Bolt should still be better than the Razor Shield. So we will still get the increased duration for the poison. We will get the range upgrade for the charge Nox Bolt, which is really useful to get ticks to proc your Kraken gears. And we will get the initial damage upgrade. We will leave out the poison damage because the poison damage does 0 damage anyway, so buffing the poison damage doesn't do anything. And the only useful upgrade we will use is the increased Nox Bolt critical damage by 25%. This will help a little bit with damage and is a pretty cool upgrade. There's a few upgrades for the Nox Bolt that would have in theory a lot of potential. For example, targets killed by Nox Bolt leave a poison pool, but this poison pool only stays really shortly after you kill a mob, and the damage the poison pool does doesn't let you proc your gears, so it's completely useless. It only stays for like 3 seconds at most, and it doesn't help you proc your gears. Another one that sounded really good when it came out was this one. It has a 15% chance to stun targets for 3 seconds, and I thought when you hit mobs with, for example, the charged one, because it is next to the charged one with the area, so you can hit multiple mobs with it with the poison damage, and I thought every tick there's a 15% chance for the mobs to get stunned, but this is completely wrong. Only the initial mob that you hit, so none of the poison damage can stun targets. Only the initial hit can stun for 15% chance for 3 seconds, which makes this completely useless. And all of the other upgrades are useless as well, so we will skip the Nox Bolt, but it's still a useful skill for Rogue. The next skill we will be using is the aimed shot for the single target damage. And here we will actually use a few extra upgrades. So here we will again leave out the armor reduction. We will just save the skill point because we have better ones. And the aim shot actually got area damage, 4 meters area damage. It does sound really OP, but it's only 4 meters, which is not much. And it also doesn't say here, but the maximum amount of mobs you can hit is 2. It doesn't say it here, they should add this in the description. I've tested it multiple times. You can only at most hit 2 mobs and they need to stand inside of each other for this to work. This heal upgrade is also pretty cool. You can use this, for example, in Elite Rahab, because if you get 2% of a boss's health, you will always insta-heal fully. You will be full HP. And at Rahab, for example, you can't use health potions, and then you will just heal fully, which is really nice. But overall, you don't need this health perk, but it could maybe in some future maps get useful. The next upgrade we will be using is the increased critical damage of aim shot by 75%. Really nice upgrade. On the other side is boss damage. So both of these upgrades should give you around the same damage, but the critical damage also helps you for mobs, not just for the bosses. So definitely go for the critical damage upgrade. And one more upgrade we will be getting is this one. It increases your critical damage by 5% for 5 seconds. It's not much, but it is a small upgrade and we will take it. And the last skill we will be using is of course the Shadow Shot. The Shadow Shot might be one of the most important skills for rogues because it's the only area clear skill. And we will be using all of the original upgrades. And then we will get the first extra upgrade. It increases the range of the Shadow Shot to 8 meters, which is really nice. Then we will use this upgrade. It increases the critical damage done by Shadow Storm Shot by 5%, which is pretty much nothing, but we will still take it. Then we will get this upgrade. It increases the damage by an additional 5%. The last upgrade is this one. Now you can hit up to 8 enemies with the Shadow Storm Shot. So these are all of the new skill upgrades you should be using. Our last points, we of course put all into Shadow Shot, and I would just put 5 into the Nox Bolt. So this is by far the best skill loadout that I have found that you should be using pretty much in every map. Only for some specific maps you can use some other skills, for example in PvP. But quickly I want to go over the other skills and the skill upgrades that those got. For example, the Razor Shield. So let me just go through all of the new upgrades that the skills got. For example, the Razor Shield got 10% extra damage, and the Razor Shield does about 0.0001 damage, and now it's buffed by 10%, which basically means it still does 0 damage. So completely useless upgrade. Next upgrade is 50% chance to bleed targets hit by Razor Shield. This is really nice because originally it's only 25%, and I think with the bleed you can proc your gears. Here, for example, for the Razor Shield, the bleed is not bugged. The bleed actually works and you can proc your gears. Not like the traps. The traps are still bugged. The developers added so many upgrades to the traps, but they still haven't realized that the bleeding doesn't work, which is just super weird. Anyways, then there's another upgrade. It restores your health by 2% every second. Might be useful in, for example, PvP. A lot of rogues like to play Razor Shield in PvP. Then you also get 15% movement speed with the Razor Shield. Also pretty cool upgrade. Then you get 15% bonus damage to bosses. Also a pretty good upgrade. 25% chance to knock back, completely useless. Then Razor Shield restores 2% mana every second. Might also be useful in maybe PvP. And 25% chance for Razor Shield to reflect 10% of incoming damage. Also not useless. So overall the Razor Shield got actually pretty decent upgrades. And in some maps, especially maybe in PvP, you could consider using this. Alright, so now quickly let's have a look at the heal skill. So here, the healing packs grant you 5% dodge chance for 5 seconds. I don't know what genius got this idea for 5% dodge chance. Let's just use my normal damage set, then see how much dodge we have. And we have 248%. The maximum dodge I think is 70%. I already have 180% useless dodge. Why would they give us extra dodge? I don't understand. So one of the worst upgrades ever. Alright, so then the next one, Charged Combat Medic gives the caster 15% mitigation, aka armor, for 5 seconds. This is not a bad upgrade. So the next one, 25% chance to spawn a lesser healing pack after picking up a Combat Medic healing pack. Also probably not that bad. Then Charged Combat Medic healing packs restored 12.5% mana over 5 seconds, also really nice. The next upgrade is Charged Combat Medic healing pack grants 15% movement speed for 5 seconds is okay. Then the next one, 15% chance that healing pack is not consumed on pickup, also pretty cool. Then charge combat medic increases caster health by 15% for 5 seconds is okay. And now the other upgrade from the first one where you got 5% dodge. Now you get 10% boss damage for 10 seconds. This just makes zero sense. Why boss damage? The only map where you can use the heal for rogue is in PvP. There has never been in the history of the game a map where you use the heal skill in a PvE map. So why do you get boss damage? So if you were thinking why you need boss damage in a PvP map, this is the reason. Do you all remember the PvP Trolls Forest TDM map? This is why you need the boss damage, so you can kill the boss a little bit easier. So now you can get the upgrade healing packs, grant 10% boss damage. With the boss damage upgrade, you can now kill Troll a little bit easier. And yeah. And after killing the Trolls boss, a mage with a duck helmet will spawn in front of you. And he's saying quack. Okay, perfect. All right, let's continue. So now let's get to the smoke bomb. The smoke bomb, you need to know, is by far the worst skill in the entire game. So you would think the upgrades for the skill would be really good. Let's quickly respec so we can use the skill. So the smoke bomb, if you have ever even seen it in your entire life, is this thing. It doesn't even work in normal maps. Amazing. So let's go into forest. So let's use the smoke bomb. This is the skill. That's all it does. It's a circle and you're supposed to get some buffs, but the buffs are so useless that it has literally never been used in the history of the game. So now let's have a look at all of the upgrades the skill got. So the first upgrade is you get 5% extra armor from a charged smoke bomb, but also you need to consider you only get the armor as long as you stay in the circle. As soon as you move out, you will not get the armor anymore. So really not a good upgrade. 5% armor is nothing. The next one is exploding shadow wheel knocks enemies back. Completely useless. Nobody will ever use that. The next one is friendly targets gain an additional 5% damage in the shadow wheel. 5% damage is really, again, like pretty much nothing at all, and you have to stay in the circle for this to work. Especially if you play with teammates, like your teammates will never stand inside of you. Alright, the next upgrade. Enemies in the shadow wheel are snared for 5 seconds. Snared means slowed. Completely useless. The only way you could maybe use the skill if you just put it down in front of a boss and try to get 5% extra damage from this. That's the only way you could play it. You would never use this against mobs. You can just prop your Kraken daggers and then kill all of the mobs. Also, the mobs are only slowed down. They will still hit you. It's not like they don't hit you anymore. So the next one increases movement speed of teammates. So let's get this upgrade. I already tested it when it came out and it only worked when you were inside of it, but apparently they buffed it so you keep it when you go out. So yeah, I still have it for about 3 seconds maybe when I go out. No, maybe 2 seconds. But there's no reason, no situation where you can think, oh yeah, this is gonna help. For example, you farm Hidu. Okay, I'm gonna put the smoke bomb down. So Hidu is not slowed at all because the snare doesn't work on the boss. And we move 5% or 15% faster. It's not doing anything, completely useless. The next one, friendly targets gain 5% critical hit chance while in the shadow wheel. The main person that will always be in the smoke bomb is you, it's just a rogue. Most of the time it will only be you, your teammates don't look at you and what you do. And again, I already with just my base stats have easily above 100% critical hit chance. Without any buffs, without any procs, without nothing. So completely useless again, 5% crit chance, nothing. So then the next one is really funny. Increased damage from shadow wheel explosion. So at the end of the shadow wheel it explodes, but you need to know that the explosion does about 0.01 damage, and now they increase the damage to probably 0.02 damage. It's just so unnecessary, this upgrade again. Why would you add this as an upgrade? And then the last one is friendlies gain 5% haste while in charge shadow wheel. This sounds okay, but let's try it out quickly. So we got haste, we leave, and we keep it for about 1 or 2 seconds. About 1 second after we leave the circle. So you have to really stay inside for 5% haste. But again, you don't need haste. If you have a Kraken armor, your pet will also probably give you haste. Then you have the passive, which gives you haste, 2.5%. Then you have your house location, which gives you haste. You're already at like maximum haste. Great. My port elixir was wearing off. I was using one the whole time. Amazing. So I want to apologize for just being so negative, but all of these upgrades are just really not good. The smoke bomb was by far the worst skill in the game, and they really decided to not give it like any good upgrade at all. It's just weird why they would do this. But anyway, so the last skill is the traps. Let's quickly have a look at the traps and then the video is over. So the first one, recover 15% of mana when something reset cooldown of entangling trap. Completely useless. Like, why would I need mana? I have mana potions here that are super cheap. I can just spam them. And also only 15% off the traps cost. So it's 149 mana and I get 15% back, but only if it resets with a 20% chance. This is so useless. So on average I get like 10 mana back. It's so unnecessary. I have 2000 mana and I can spam potions and I get on average like 10 mana back with this upgrade. Like, who thinks about all of these useless upgrades? So the next one is also really funny. Increases the amount of bleeding damage by 15%. So the developers really were like, okay, let's buff the bleeding damage, but let's not fix the bleeding bug. Okay, everyone in the entire game knows the bleeding doesn't work. You cannot proc off the bleeding. So then another one, increases the amount of damage done by exploding traps by 15%. So traps explode at the end of their duration and they do about 0 damage, and now they do 15% extra damage. So with this amazing upgrade you will actually get 0 damage. So really consider getting this upgrade. Yeah, I have no words, honestly. So the next one is increases the chance for traps to pull enemies by 5%. Then the next one, increased duration of entangling trap snare to 7 seconds. Okay, nothing else to say. Then the next one, targets caught by exploding traps also explode and do damage in a 4-meter radius. Here again, let me pull out my calculator. So we have 0 damage times 15% extra damage, I think it was, and we're still at 0 damage. So they actually added 2 upgrades which add 0 damage. Really amazing for the traps. Then another one is bleeding targets lose 15% damage. This is really funny. So they added a debuff for mobs that bleed, but they didn't realize in that moment when they added this debuff that the bleeding doesn't work to proc your gears. The next one is 15% chance for entangling trap to grant 5% haste for 5 seconds. So you only have a 15% chance to get 5% haste for 5 seconds. Like, in what scenario is that going to be useful? So I have my trap here, I place it down, and now I have a 15% chance to have only 5% more haste. Like, what is that 5% haste going to do in this situation? I place my trap, that's just not it. So the traps overall were done also really dirty, no upgrades pretty much. So these are all of the upgrades. I do sound pretty negative and it sounds like I'm only hating on the upgrades and on the update. But the real reason I am so negative about all of this is just because I do actually care about the game and I just want to help, and I hope it will be better in the future. And overall the developers did a really good job with the upgrades. It's a really cool update to add all of these perks to the skills. They did a really good job, and just on a few skills they really could have done a little bit better. Maybe they could have taken a little bit more time, and maybe they should have balance changed the skills first before they added all of these upgrades. But this is how it is. Overall, still a really cool update. And this is it with the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.